What is qualitative data analysis? Guys, we talked about the definition of qualitative studies. Then we also explored the data collection and the nature of data for qualitative studies, right? And then we explored about the research designs which are used in qualitative studies, okay? So in this session, we are going to talk about the analysis of qualitative data, that how various processes and actions are carried out in order to analyze qualitative data, right? So there is a range of processes available and procedures available for analyzing qualitative data. Analysis is basically, the procedure which is like moving from data to form, various kinds of explanations, right? So when you are moving from data to explanation, this is called analysis. So analysis is carried out of qualitative data for the sake of understanding and interpretation of the people, right? That how a particular people think about and how do they understand about a phenomena or a particular situation, okay? So situations are under study in qualitative data and qualitative studies, and situations are, particularly evaluated, they are explored, and the philosophy is interpretive philosophy, right? Because it is interpretative in nature, and the interpretation is carried out. It's more about understanding of, phenomena, understanding of people, understanding of interaction and context, right? So therefore, the philosophy is interpretative, okay? And it is to examine the meaningful and symbolic content of qualitative data, right? So the purpose of analysis is to examine the meaningful and symbolic content of qualitative data, right? And that's the purpose for which the analysis is carried out, right? So before going into detail, let me just in this session introduce some of the key terms which are used in qualitative data analysis, right? So let's go to those important terms which are used. Number one is theory. So in qualitative data, the theory is basically a set of interrelated concepts and then definitions and propositions that presents a systematic view of events or situation. So theory is basically a connection of interrelated concepts and definitions, right? Then there are themes. Themes are ideas, categories that emerge from grouping of lower level data points, right? So lower level data points are translated into themes, and then those themes, those patterns, they are further evaluated, they are highlighted as the part of qualitative data analysis, right? Then we have characteristic. Characteristic is basically an item or an attribute or event in a text which is similar to an individual response to a variable or indicator in a quantitative research. So in qualitative data, we have characteristic, and in quantitative data, we have variable or indicator, right? And it is the smallest unit of analysis. Characteristic in qualitative data analysis is the smallest unit. Then we have the coding process. Coding process is basically the labeling process. When lines are labeled, when text is labeled, right? And the researcher can group and compare similar related pieces of information. So that process is called coding. And coding is really important in qualitative studies. Then coding sorts. Coding sorts basically the compilation of similar coded blocks of text from different sources in order to single file or report. So those labeled, coded data is actually sorted out, and that is compiled. And that compilation is called coding sorts. Then we have another term which is used in qualitative data analysis, and that is indexing. Indexing is when you generate particular words, and those words are then enlisted, and they are given particular, substantive investigation, and then their locations are determined, and the locations within text are highlighted. So this process of generating word list and their particular positions, that is called indexing. So these are the points which are used in qualitative data analysis and must be known to researchers.